Okay, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that you might scratch your head and say, well, isn't there a whole lot of service providers in the database universe out there? And the answer, of course, there is. But there's some great uniqueness that you're going to be seeing in today's webcast from ReSource and the program that they have in place, database provider, but also the benchmarking program. And you all know that I provide coaching and sales training support for financial advisors. When I'm working with an advisor, I always talk to them about their networking and their strategic partnering out there and working with professionals, complementary. They think like they do, but they offer a different skill set, a different discipline, complements to what they provide to their clients. And that's what I do too at Know How 401k. Earlier this year, I introduced you to a full-service marketing program. Today, I'm introducing you to a strategic partner, Resourcepedia.com, that clearly provides unique quality service for advisors for both their prospecting and profiling purposes, but also planned service as well. I'm going to introduce to you Chuck Gouge. Chuck is going to be the primary speaker on today's webcast. Chuck, if you do go to LinkedIn, check out his profile. You'll find just a tremendous focus in the qualified plan arena. And for several decades out there, I'll leave a surprise for you to go check out LinkedIn, how long he's actually been with us. But Chuck, without further ado, I'm very much looking forward to hearing the presentation today on the plan data intelligence resource and optional benchmarking tool as well. So thanks Chuck, for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the introduction, Chris. And then maybe I started when I was 12 or something, I don't know. But I do have quite a few years. And also with me on the line in this presentation is our founder and president of the company, Tim McCutcheon. Hi, Tim.
Hello.
Yeah, hi there. Tim and I both have more years than we want to admit in both the compliance space as well as qualified plans and ERISA compliance and so forth. Tim is an ERISA attorney and a CPA and an MBA who has been able to look at the marketplace and look at compliance professionals around qualified plans and ERISA compliance and so forth, and identify opportunities to do things differently than we're already in the market. So a lot of what Chris said is true. I mean, there are other opportunities to do lots of things you can do with qualified plan data, right? The Form 5500 there's lots of different ways to access it. There's lots of different tools to kind of search the database and find things. So a lot of what Chris wanted us to focus on today was so what's different? You know, what's the spin, if you will, on ERISApedia's tools and applications. Everybody probably is aware, and I've sort of distilled it down to three quick steps. And I say question mark quick. I mean, it depends on what kind of tools you're using as to how quick they are, but we feel like they're quick using our system. You set criteria to look for ideal plan demographics. Maybe it's a location or a size. You know, you filter in and out kind of what you do or don't want to see, as far as maybe it's only DC plans or only 403B plans, or whatever those type of things that you might find in your business plan that fit your sweet spot. Maybe it's a certain business type, maybe it's doctors or law offices or what have you, and maybe it's certain features of the plans. They do or they don't have auto enrollment, they do or they don't have default investment options. And then maybe you work well with or don't want to work with, or you would like to replace opportunities in where there's certain service providers. So all that stuff is typical things that people would search for or exclude from their list. And then the third step is you actually generate your list, and you go through your efforts. You know, you sort, you segment, you print, you export, you do mail merges, create call lists, mailing opportunities, what have you. That's kind of the normal plan, if you will. But once you get the 5,500 data results, once you get your list, if you will, you have access to data. So access to data is just that. And people used to say information is power, and access to information is power. Well, knowing what to do with that data and being able to turn it into actionable content is probably where the real power lies. So your prep should contain things like getting an understanding of the plan, the people involved, the size of the plan, its features, the providers, maybe the assets that are in the plan, types of assets. That should then allow you to kind of identify opportunities or maybe lack thereof with a given plan, and you can pass on prospecting into that particular plan sponsor. Then you add in your other insight, your information, and Chris mentioned using LinkedIn. I use that a lot to just kind of understand who I'm talking to when I'm talking to somebody. And you may have referrals and know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody into that plan. And then ultimately you create your talking points or your conversation starters, or you go into the meeting prepared to have an intelligent conversation. And lastly, that should help you prove value or add value to being involved in that with that plan sponsor in a relationship. How Recipedia is different. It's built with very modern technology. We use a lot of searching and so forth that are very cutting edge. Work a lot closely with Google and their capabilities. It's built by Tim. I mentioned Tim earlier. Tim was a pioneer in the first eFast filing, which is sort of the beginning of all this access to data. He actually created and set up one of the first electronic signing capabilities for people to sign electronically their ERISA compliance type filings. The system is very easy to use, and I'll give you, again, most of this hopefully in the last 10 or 15 minutes will just be a quick demo of how you might do a particular search and find sort of technique. Very easy to use, and the data is always up to date. It's a web-based tool. That's the only way you can use it. You access it via anything that's connected to the internet, your iPad, your desktop, your laptop, whatever you might have. And so anytime you log in, you're looking at today's data, and we get it as fresh as it gets from the DOL. It is national data, so our database is the full national database of all the 800 and some ERISA filed 5,500 plans out there, but you have full geographical filtering, so you can look in your neck of the woods, just your zip code or a radius around your zip code, or just your state or several states, what have you. We also then allow users to kind of set their own thresholds or flags for warnings or filters or whatever that might say, a plan with this level of participation is low, or this level of participation is low, and we don't predetermine that. You can sort of set those thresholds. Big thing that we added was, I mentioned Google earlier, we worked with Google on scanning about 2 million pages of the attachments that go in with the 5,500s, and in those attachments is a cornucopia of information. It's got the schedule of assets, it's got the audit report that went in with these larger plans. So anything with more than 100 participants has to be audited. It's going to have a schedule of assets. It's going to have a lot of data in there that may be worth mining into, and we've scanned all those 2 million pages and made them fully OCR, so it's searchable. And then lastly, kind of the last two bullets are, we just added in the ability to do operational benchmarking, participation level, employer-employee contribution levels, return on investment, sort of the beginning and ending growth of the plan for a given year, and then maybe distributions and things like that that are really not so much performance of a fund in a plan, but performance of the plan. And that's where Chris mentioned, it gives you an opportunity to have a very intelligent meeting with either a client or a potentially future client that you want to show them some value, that you understand how they stack up amongst their peers. Now we do that like other vendors do, benchmarking them against the nation, but where it really comes in to what we tweaked it a little bit, made it really valuable, is we let you set up custom tier groups. So you can say, instead of benchmarking doctors' offices with 25 to 50 participants against all other doctors' offices around the country, you can benchmark doctors' offices in North Carolina against only doctors' offices, that are 25 to 50 participants in North Carolina. So there's lots of customability there. And then lastly, we want to keep it affordable. So a lot of what we do is because it's in new modern technology, is cost effective to us. So we pass that on in the pricing of the product. So it is affordable compared to a lot of the products out there. So if I haven't run out of breath, Chris, I think I'm going to switch over to a quick demo. I don't know if, oh, by the way, I know everybody's line is muted, but in the control panel for GoToWebinar, you can ask a question. You can, go into the little question box and put in a question, and we'll have somebody kind of keep track of those as they come in, and maybe Chris or Tim will pull out one or two that are really good questions. Not that there's any bad questions, but some might be better than others. So I'm going to log in. Like I said, it's a web-based product. You just go to a website, Aristopedia.com. Once you go there, you can bookmark it like I have. Your login name is your email, your password is computer generated, and then you can always reset your own password to your dog's name or your street you grew up on or whatever that normal case might be. Like I said, it's a web-based product. Everything you look at is current, so until you run a search, your screen is blank. But once you hit this refresh button with any new criteria you put in, you'll get your new search results. You can search nationally. Like I said, you can search by state, you can search by a zip code, and if you give us a zip code, it can be a specific zip code or series of zip codes, or it can be a radius around a given zip code. If you know a plan name or even parts of the plan's name, you can search for it by name. And then lastly, if you know the specific EIN of a plan, you can search for it by EIN with or without the dash. For this purposes of examples, I'll just give you, we'll search the state of North Carolina. I don't live there anymore, but I used to. And it's a good, I think it's about 10, maybe 12 or 15th in population and probably business size. So it's a pretty good market if you haven't gone into that market. You can make selections, and these are very similar to other services out there as far as filtering in or filtering out sponsor types. Like, you don't want to see union plans, that's what a multi-employer plan is. You don't want to see direct filing entities, that's what a DFE is. If you did want to look at direct filing entities, you can even look at the subtypes, if you know what I'm talking about there. Plan types. You do or don't want to see welfare plans or DB plans. You really want to just focus on DC plans. Those are all very common selection criteria. And then you get into the filters down here, and we have a ton of filters which are very similar in any other service you've ever used, such as you can say I do or don't want to see ESOPs, or I only want to see 401k plans, or I only want to see cross-tested plans, or plans with auto-enrollment, or plans with or exclude or include plans with default investments. Business categories, we have the same business categories that a lot of the other vendors have as far as, retail, doctor's offices, what have you, but we also will allow you to search by a specific code that breaks it down to dozens and dozens of specific businesses. So you can really pinpoint into not just mining, but coal mining or what have you by the specific business code that's put on the 5500. And then under some of the other selection or filters, you can rule out plans that are terminating, for instance, or frozen DB plans. You can also say, I don't want to deal with anybody who's put on their 5500 that they've had a loss due to fraud or dishonesty. You can look for errors or omissions that they might have had, where they had corrective distributions, or they failed to contribute, they failed to transmit contributions when due, failed to give a blackout notice. All those sort of things are nice. Maybe that's an assistance you can give to the plan sponsor, showing them that there are ways to eliminate errors and omissions like that. Under financial, you can say, I only want to see plans with a certain number of dollars or participants. You can also say, I only want to see plans, and this is where I was talking about your own own thresholds. You only want to see plans with a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to a particular participation rate, or a particular investment return, or a particular employer or participant contribution level. That kind of gives you, again, filters that make the selection criteria very pinpoint on the type of sponsor and plan you want to work with. And then really one of the very powerful things is looking at all those schedules for specific service providers. So maybe you work really well with a particular auditor. You can search all the plans that on their Schedule H where their auditor is XYZ firm, or actuary if you're working with DB plans. You can search for particular providers that are record keepers. Maybe it's, maybe you work well with plans that use Hancock as a record keeper, or some other big financial house, or they have Hancock or Voya or something insurance in their product or in their plan, products in their plan. Or you can search all of Schedule C for any particular name, Transamerica, Voya, whatever it might be, and you don't really care what line it's on. And then lastly is the ability to search the attachments. And this is really cool, where you could say, I want to see all the plans where in their schedule of assets, somewhere in those attached financial statements to the 5500, they had a particular word or phrase or series of words and phrases. PIMCO, maybe it's target date funds, maybe it's a specific target date fund, something value 2020 or whatever it might be called. After you do all your selection criteria, the last thing you do is just hit the refresh button, and now we're going to find all the plans in North Carolina that fit these criteria. I think it was greater than 5 million that are also doctors. So these are all our doctors' offices or medical facilities, I guess I should say, in North Carolina with greater than 5 million in assets. It's listed on a dashboard, and you can do a lot with this on the dashboard, or we have an ability to just download all the data into a spreadsheet where you can cut and paste and sort and search all kinds of different ways. But the dashboard kind of gives you quick information like EIN, sponsor name, city, state, participant count, assets. We have a link here to the providers, so we can show you what providers real quickly are involved with that particular plan. Sometimes it's just a few, sometimes it's a long list. Gives you sort of fee data, tells you the code that was listed on the Schedule C for the fee, and we even give you a link up here if you don't know what the code means to find out that a 29 is legal or 28 is investment management or what have you. There's quick links to the actual 5500, so if you want to see the 5500 for a particular plan, we have the current one, we have the attachments to it, and we have one PDF that would give you the 5500 and the attachments. We can also look at prior year plan summaries or prior year 5500s and attachments. And one of the things that we're working on here is the ability to actually export and work with just the schedule of assets. This is under sort of a alpha testing right now. We're not ready to roll that out yet, but that's going to come out where you'll be able to work with schedules of assets separately or specifically in a spreadsheet. If you see a plan in here you just want to take a snapshot of, you double click on the name of the plan, there's all the information about that plan, the signer of the 5500, their name, address, phone number, a little bit rolled down into the participants and the assets and so forth. Hey, that's cool, that's what I really need. You download it to a PDF, and I've already done this. You bring up the PDF. We can customize this PDF, so instead of it having a Recipedia here, it has your nice, neat logo. Maybe there's a certain text box you want to add to this form that has yourself a little disclaimer about information or how to contact you or whatever. We can add all that to the PDF. Great for going into a meeting with the plan sponsor. Also on this profile page, you'll see the ability to do the standard benchmark, which is what every other data company can do out there, which would benchmark this doctor's office against all other doctor's offices that have somewhere, in this case, a couple hundred participants around the country. So it would probably benchmark them against several thousand or tens of thousands of doctor's offices. But what you can do is create a custom benchmark with this link. It'll create a benchmark just for this plan against just these doctors that you found. In this case, it was 215 medical offices that fit these criteria. So now instead of being able to go talk to this person about how they compare to doctors in New York and Texas and California, you can go in and have a conversation with them about how they compare to doctors and offices in North Carolina in this case. I think I've already downloaded that too. This is similar. We can customize it with your logo. We can change the colors, but it basically pulls in all the plan sponsor information, all the general information about the plan, and then we come down and give you the opportunity to have these conversation starters. Look, the plan has a high percentage score compared to its peer group in administrative expenses. Maybe that's a conversation you have with them. It does not have auto-enrollment. Adding auto-enrollment may increase participation. That's a conversation you can have with them. Maybe there was an error or an omission. It's going to give you the kind of pull out things from the 5500 to help you get started on what you want to talk about. And then we get into the benchmarking. And in this case, it's going to say, okay, we use green, yellow, red. Green, good. Yellow, kind of in the middle. Red, look out. You're a little bit high or you're a little bit low, depending on the case, whatever the case might be. And we graph it for the last several years, so you can sort of see how the plan has done compared to this peer group over years, not just as a snapshot of 1 year. This is where it was talking about high administrative expenses. And here's, but they've got great contribution, they've got great employer contribution, but the participation rate's still just a little bit low. That's going to be eligible employee, or rather participating employees divided by eligible employees. And then average account balances are good, but distributions are a little high. Maybe that's another conversation to have. Pretty good on corrective distributions, very little. So all this is just the kind of stuff that we report out of the 5500. We don't make anything up. We don't infer anything. We don't add anything. Editorially, it's up to you to kind of take that information out to whomever you're going to be meeting with and have that conversation with them about those things. But it allows you to prepare. Allows you to have some information in your, prepared in your possession on a piece of paper or in a file that you can send electronically to the prospective customer or client, or to a existing customer or client, and have that annual or quarterly or semi-annual meeting with them where you're adding value. I think I've talked just about as fast as I can talk, Chris and Tim. I didn't show the ability to search the attachments, but one thing in this case, in these doctors' offices, if you wanted to search these doctors' offices for how many of them have PIMCO in their schedule of assets, this is pretty cool. So out of that 200 and some doctors' offices, looks like 33 of them have PIMCO somewhere in their schedule of assets. If we show you the page number that the word was found, so if you click on the link to the page number, it'll take you specifically to that page of the report where it found this word PIMCO, and there's the fund and there's the amount and so forth. So it's kind of really powerful to be able to search that deep inside the 5500, not just for data that was on the 5500, but now this is data that was on scanned or created PDFs by the audit report. Tim, Chris, did I forget anything? Can you think of anything else any questions come in?
It's all very impressive. Tim, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, Chuck, I think you covered it well.
Well, we got a few minutes left, so if you do have any questions, I don't think we can open the phones, but I want you to know, if you go to our website, resopedia.com. Whoops, let me see if I can make this.
Chuck,
Yes.
one thing you didn't mention is that we have a built-in CRM for those that don't have one.
Tim, I think you're coming in and out.
Yeah, that's it. I know what he's saying. Good part. We do have the ability to export to our built-in contact manager, or if you use Salesforce or some other major contact manager, we can map it so that it exports to your contact manager. So when you find a particular plan data, you can bring in all the contact information for that plan sponsor, their name, address, phone number, links to their plans, etc. All that makes it really easy for you to go ahead and not have to type data back into your contact manager. And like I said, if you don't have one, we have the one that's built into it.
But as far as doing all of the benchmarking, that has to be done on the ReSopedia.com site.
Right. That is where we create the benchmark for you. If you notice, when I double clicked on this and I said create the benchmark, You get a little thing that says an email will be sent to you. In this case, it's sent to my email address. It'll show up in your inbox, just like here. I've got your benchmark report. Here it is. And it's just a little attachment. It usually takes a minute or two for the thing to be created, but it's created on the fly. So all this is being done and calculated in the background and then sent to you as an attachment. Anybody who wants a one-on-one conversation or a further maybe more detailed or specific demonstration to fit their questions or their interest, again, it's really easy to get a hold of us. Guess what our website is? It's arisapedia.com. No secret there. We have information. We have our pricing here, and you can go to specific products, and there's what we call plan data intelligence and plan data benchmarking. So when you go to those sub pages, you'll get some more information about it. You can download our brochure, and you can always contact us here at either support or sales at arisapedia.com, or dial this phone number. Or I'm sure if you get a hold of Chris, Chris knows how to get a hold of me or Tim or whomever. So we'd love to work with you guys any way we can.
What's the pricing, Chuck?
The pricing is really good. I probably didn't cover that. We have a lot of our compliance products up here that are a la carte, and they have different user ID levels and so forth. But the plan data intelligence product is $14.95 a year, and you get up to 5 users. So you can use it in your office with 5 different people or in several offices. As long as you all have the same domain address and your email address, it's up to 5 people. And that includes the plan data benchmarking. If you wanted to buy the benchmarking by itself, you can buy it in 2 levels. One is $4.95 a year, and the other is $7.95 a year. And that's just giving you some capabilities just to do benchmarking.
Looking at this pricing and the various products, if you don't mind, Chuck, could you kind of give the listeners the evolution, the history, if you will, about Arisapedia, where you all came from? And because that's really, to me, that's part of the great difference of Arisapedia versus the Brightscopes, the Larkspurs, all those kind of folks out there.
This is what we do, and this is all we do. Tim, like I said, is an ERISA attorney and a CPA. I was with what used to be CCH.
You're kind of breaking up, Chuck.
Oops, sorry. Hopefully you can still hear me. I was with what used to be CCH, became Wolters Kluwer for about 30 years. Tim and I met there because he had another software company that we acquired and we worked together with for about 5 or 6 years. We both left, did different things for a couple of years, and then Tim decided he was bored, I guess, I don't know. Decided to start up arisapedia.com. We got back together and we're sort of getting the band back together, but we have a ton of experience in this industry, and again, we wouldn't have created any of this stuff if we couldn't have done it differently or better, and we think in many respects. But this is all we do. We work a lot with CPAs, TPAs, financial advisors, ERISA attorneys, even some plan sponsors on content that helps them do compliance work. We work with CPAs to help them prospect plan audit opportunities. And then we do plan data products for financial advisors, TPAs, and even some CPAs who want to just be able to mine into that 5,500 database. Is that what you mean, Chris?
Yeah, the plan auditors, the CPAs, they were your first type of clients, and then you evolved into the advisor, where a lot of the competition out there, was focused on the advisor and didn't give themselves the opportunity to really get this great perspective built into their program. So I think those of you that take the time and compare Arisapedia versus the others, that may not be as evident, but when you look under the hood, it's a tremendous value for you and a difference maker for them.
I think so. Were you saying something, Tim, or we already covered it and it was Chris that was trying to say something?
I think I'm good.
Okay, good. So all over our webpage, you'll have the links to contact us either by phone or by email. We're very responsive. We're a small company, but we're focused, and we have a lot of great people involved. And we're in different time zones, so we sort of handle things almost 24/7, it seems like, when we're in different parts of the country or what have you.
Any questions from the group?
I don't see any more on the question board. Free trial period. Somebody's asking about a free trial period. You know, we give a lot of free trials to this compliance information because it's something that you don't necessarily need every day, and people like to sort of kick it around and look what's in there. And when you go to sign up, there's actually a way to sign up and say, I want a 7-day free trial. Well, that's going to give you the compliance information, not to the prospecting tool. We typically don't do free trials to the prospecting tool for the obvious reason of once you got the database, you got the database, and you could, you know, run all your searches and
download it
and never need us, right? But we do work with some people and say, look, if you're Honest Joe, or we know how we're going to do this, we can give you access to it for a little while, or we can do an extended, very specific demonstration with you on a web meeting like this.
Or just give you a call. I'm sure you'll do an in-depth review with them.
I've done it a few times.
Any other questions out there?
And then somebody asked about pricing, which I think we just covered. Yep, I think that's it. Pricing and free trials. So yeah, we'd love to work with you. We'd love to give you a good look at it. Give you a chance to do some specific searches in your own area. It works. I tell people all the time, you can't break it. I've had people just do the wrong thing and come up with the wrong results, and it's like, well, you didn't break it. You just gotta, you have a mutually exclusive sort of filter on there. You're asking for things that are in the plan, but other things that aren't in the plan, and they're mutually exclusive or what have you. So you got to kind of be careful. But it's so easy, you can't screw it up.
I talk to advisors all the time about the state of this marketplace, that there's never been the opportunity to gather as much information about a plan before you actually go out and talk to them. And it's awesome how you go about manipulating the data, how you go about benchmarking the data. These are all great value adds from Aristopedia. But I talk to advisors about this data and how valuable it is. It's very similar to me as cards in a poker hand, that it's not your job to come out and say, hey, look, I see you can't pass a discrimination test, or you're 5,500 late. But now you have data that you want to verify. So instead of a better way of posing the question might be, can the higher compensated employees, are they able to save as much as they want to each year? Or those types of things. What operational issues do you find yourself continually facing? Questions like that. But never before have you been given the opportunity to be dealt 4 aces, in a hand, and then sit back in a prospecting discovery type meeting to be able to provide that kind of insight, let alone perhaps right up front show them how their plan compares to others right in the area as well.
Yes, somebody asked about IDs, and what that just means is you can have up to 4 or 5 different users, so they can use the system at the same time. So maybe you're in different offices, maybe you're in the same office, or maybe one of you's at home and somebody else is in the office. But it just allows access so that when you log in, if somebody else were to log in with my user ID right now, they'd kick me off. I'd have to log in again because somebody used my ID. If you have 5 different ones, you never have that problem. So that's what we mean by IDs, is just access to the system. And I think that's the only other question we have. How often is the data updated? It's updated constantly. So typically the DOL releases their data once a month at the end of the month. We grab it as soon as they release it. We do a little data cleansing, and then we put it up on our website on the search engine so that you can search it. A lot of times people will ask, why is this a 2015 5500? Well, that's the most current 5500 in the database. But you can, when you did a search real quickly, in this case I was looking around a particular zip code, some of these I guarantee you are 2016 5500s, but it'll tell you at the top of the screen if it's a 15 or a 16. And if you downloaded this to a spreadsheet, it'll give you the data, which shows you the calendar year of the plan, whether it's a 15 or a 16. You can see some of them are 16s and some of them are 15s. So you can sort them by that. You can find out how old the plan is, etc. Lots of data.
Remember the 16s were just required a couple months ago. So to be filed.
There's a lot of them are going to be coming in before October 15th. That's the final extension deadline for 2016 5500s.
Yeah.
Somebody else was asking a question. What is it? Oh, it's an amazing service. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, that's why I want you all to look further into this. Give Chuck a call. Do a demo with them. Yes, everybody gets their information from the same mother source. Not every organization does the cleansing. Not every organization has the depth of data. Not every organization has the depth of experience. And not every organization presents the data in a way that you can actually demonstrate great value to the decision makers out there like the ReSource. So I hope that you've gotten a lot out of today's presentation. Chuck, do you have a contact info slide?
Yeah, I think if you go to our webpage, all of our contact information is at the bottom of any page. Our phone number, our email addresses. If you write to sales or support at ReSource, I will get a copy of it. So it goes into our general mailbox that multiple people access, but I also get a copy of it. So I would see any inquiry that came in. And if you call that number, it'll go to our general phone number that rings at my desk as well as everybody else's, and anybody who can answer it will answer it. And if you need to talk to me, they'll transfer it to me.
In lieu of any additional questions, Chuck and Tim, I want to thank you for your information today, and I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their day to join us. And again, it's Chris Barlow. If there's anything I can do for you, please feel free to contact me. But thanks, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Have a great day, everyone.